Hi, welcome to another in our series of video learning projects with the Mother's Mental Health Toolkit project. I'm Dr. Joanne MacDonald with the Reproductive Mental Health Service and Dalhousie University here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. We're going to have another example of exploring the story of one mom and how her experience can demonstrate the role of community service providers in mother's mental health. So let's meet our mom. As a community service provider to mothers and young families, we think you can have a lot of opportunities that will promote and support mother's mental health. And as you know, a mother's positive mental health promotes the development of her child in both the physical and emotional health, a solid self-esteem and confidence, skill and learning. What we think of as emotional regulation, which is very important to relationship success later in life. So in this series, Meet Our Mom, the Mother's Mental Health Toolkit project team will introduce you to case descriptions drawn from the real experiences of our mental health clinicians and our Family Resource Center partner staff. These moms have common presentations and problems that will challenge you to define your possible role and contributions to their well-being. The moms will also provide examples of how you might use some of the toolkit resources in your work. It sometimes helps to have a copy of your toolkit out for reference as we begin to meet our moms. You could also print off the presentation and make notes as you go. So our first mom today to meet is Tennika. Tennika is a 32-year-old mother of a 4-month-old baby girl, and she was previously working as a bookkeeper. Tennika and her partner Jay conceived after many, many years of fertility treatments and assessments. Her pregnancy went on to be complicated by threatened preterm labor, bleeding and high blood pressure towards the end. But baby Shania was born by C-section, healthy, but after a long, difficult labor and fetal distress. Tenika's mother came to help in the first 6 weeks, and she was very helpful, although it was crowded in their small apartment. Tennika finds that she's avoiding taking Shania outside for fear of infection, and Jay needs the car for work, so she doesn't want to use the bus with the baby. She's been to the family doctor now several times with concerns that the baby is having an infection. She tells him she also feels short of breath herself and has chest pains that are new. So let's get thinking. What are 3 possible mental health issues for Tennika? And we'll give you a minute to sort of think about that and jot them down. Here's some things the Toolkit project team identified. First of all, maybe the expectations of motherhood have become extremely high for Tennika because of how long and how important it was for her to become pregnant. And the pregnancy and delivery experiences, which were complicated, may have been disappointing and quite frightening, actually. So mom could have some post-traumatic stress reactions from the medical complications she experiences and the baby's distress during labor, and they may be playing a role in her anxiety now. Various presentations of anxiety are possible for Tennika. The worry about the infection may have become excessive and really what we call obsessive, in the sense that she goes over and over and over it in her mind, is unable to stop thinking about it, and finds she has a lot of distress about it. People will say this is like having something repeating in your head or gum on your shoe that you can't get off. She could have now generalized anxiety disorder, which is a constant worry that's contributing to her physical problems herself. Or she could be having mild to moderate panic symptoms with a general sense of fear, shortness of breath, chest pain, and the instinct to avoid the things that trigger that fear. Would you like to know more about this mom? So again, we'll give you a minute and think about, to work with her in my setting, what else would I want to know about this woman? The project team wondered about the following things. What were the experiences that created a sense of fear for Tennika? So we find out that once the baby is safely delivered, sometimes the real experience of the mother can be overlooked. The medical team sees the crisis as past and mom and baby are now well. And the expression and resolution of the traumatic elements didn't ever really occur, and the busy life with the baby begins. So mother at the time in the hospital that she delivers the baby is just relieved that she's safe, that the baby's safe. Visitors come in, all of a sudden the life with the new baby takes over, and the medical team comment on how well they're both doing and out their discharge. So mom has never had a chance to really say, that was extremely frightening for me and I thought maybe I was going to lose my baby again. Tennika truly felt Shania might die. With every experience of the preterm bleeding, the threatened labor, and then the sudden distress and C-section, she's still experiencing the memories of those moments months later as though they had just happened to her. And this is a key hallmark of post-traumatic stress reactions. We were wondering, has Tennika ever experienced an anxiety problem before becoming mother? Well, what we come to understand is that by temperament, she was a quiet, shy child, cared for by her loving grandmother, though. She had difficulty leaving the family to go to school, but she did adjust in time. And she was always a very good student, but liked to be really well prepared in advance and could get quite anxious before exams or presentations. Once in community college, she'd had a period of sleeplessness for a month when she was working on a major project. How does she usually cope with stress? Well, she says she's always focused on being prepared, planning and keeping lists, rehearsing what will happen in a new or stressful situation in her mind. But mothering hasn't turned out to be quite what she expected or planned for. She feels somehow poorly prepared then for every day. It's not at all like her going to her bookkeeping job. She's a worker, though, in her mind, and doesn't have much experience with relaxation and recreation as strategies to reduce her tension or stress. So she just keeps trying harder in a way, in the ways that she knew that worked for her in the past, but maybe those ways are not working for her life and the tasks ahead of her now as the mother of a young infant. So what could be the role for you and your organization to support her mental health as a mother? Let's give you a minute again to think about that. Some possible roles and contributions would be that simply the encouragement and observation of the baby's development, how it meets with what you've seen with other children in your center, what you know about the norms of development may help Tennika see her baby as healthy and thriving, and reduce the fear and normalize the adjustments that come with all those changes from month to month with infants. The fear of illness, as well as limiting her social support and increasing isolation, your center could be a destination she comes to trust. So never underplay the role potentially of social support. You can provide also information about how common worry is for mothers and the importance of screening when worry becomes an anxiety problem. So again, this is where your knowledge of what the norms are around mental health and the risks for mental illness in the mothering population can help you really encourage her to explore this. You're not the person to diagnose, but you may be very helpful in encouraging her to look at whether this is causing her a problem now. How might you use the toolkit resources with Tennika? Well, a focus on the usual developmental stages and a realistic appraisal of her baby will be an important support. And pages 54 and 55 describe attachment development by infant life stage. You wonder if Tennika may have more than ordinary worry, possibly some form of anxiety disorder. And pages 122 to 127 are brief descriptions of common mental health problems for mothers. So let's look at the anxiety disorder possibilities. This is something that you may read through that just may help you organize your own thinking and observations with Tennika. It's not necessarily something that you're going to hand out to her. How do you introduce the possibility of a mental health problem with Tennika? Well, you might approach her by restating something she's already told you. For example, you mentioned you thought Shania might become ill if you went to the birthday party. These were her words, which you can follow with a fairly softly delivered question such as, how is all this worry about her affecting you? You can convey concern that doesn't convey judgment about her emotions. You can then introduce the idea at some point that women experience postpartum anxiety as well as postpartum depression. So page 121 is a general checklist you could offer for her to do on her own or with you. Key points to remember in working with moms with worry. All mothers have concerns and need to be attentive to their children, but constant worry is not typical or necessary for effective nurturing or mothering. Sometimes when people grew up in a situation where people either worried a lot about them or really didn't pay much attention to them and they wish someone was more attentive to them, they associate worry with love. That's the expression of loving someone, is to worry about them. And they need to understand that there are many other ways in which to convey support and affection for their children to be effective as a mother without worrying. Respect the woman's possible past experiences of fear or risk and how that could be shaping her feelings and ideas now. She feels it strongly, which makes it real in her experience now. So sometimes in an attempt to reassure people, we'll sort of say, oh, that's not, a really big problem. Don't worry about it. Sometimes it's more helpful to begin to explore why they see the worry as so high and why that belief and idea is so strongly held for them. Then you can be more likely to be reflective and effective in your intervention. And also remember that anxiety in the body and the mind can be very effectively managed and treated, actually. So your mom doesn't have to keep feeling this much distress. It's really important in general in our communities that we understand how to manage common mental health problems and that people don't avoid seeking treatment and strategies and care and intervention around this. A couple of other resources for you are the Anxiety BC site, which has a particularly developed resource for mothers under the perinatal section or link. And also a helpful website we've found is Caring for Kids by the Canadian Pediatric Society, which has a range of information about raising healthy infants and children, and then can be a reliable source for mom. Thanks very much for checking out our Meet Our Mom video learning series, and hopefully you'll meet another mom in the next module. Thanks.